Right. Good. Thank you for your patience. I was about to say that it's like in so many ways everything is kind of flying by the seat of your pants and figuring it out as you go. Given this new world that we're in, with regards to the coronavirus, the COVID-19 situation that we're in. This is a new format for us here at Venza, and we're very glad to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. The new format is we're hoping is a very nice and concise message around some very timely issues, and built around this format is really built around getting some industry feedback from experts. So and we have those experts on the call with us now. And yeah, why don't you introduce yourself, Frederick, so we can we'll get started. Hopefully, Mark will be able to join us.
Hi, everybody. It's Predrag Kostaj. I'm 20 plus years in travel and hospitality industry, different companies from Charisma Hotels and Resorts, Allegro Resorts, and Destination World Travel now, the last couple of years, all the time in the IT sector.
Fantastic. Thank you, Predrag, for being here. Love having your contribution as the industry expert. In the meanwhile, while we wait for Mark, maybe we can, David, if you would mind introducing yourself, David Christensen.
Yeah, most definitely. I am the CIO of Venza. Been with the company since I'd say pretty much day one. My expertise is InfoSec, information security, and a little bit of privacy mixed in. I've got a wide range of industry certifications, and really specialize in the PCI space for the hoteliers.
Indeed, fantastic. Well, David's going to be our presenter on this topic of how cyber criminals are using this global crisis and how they typically like to leverage crises and distractions in order to do their dirty work. So the subject is phishing with Corona. The format is a very short, concise message. David, if you wouldn't mind, and Sean, if you don't mind sharing the one pager, that's kind of the rule here. Just one page, and then and we'll go from there. There we go. So the timer's on, David. You got a few minutes to bring us up to speed on what's going on.
Excellent. Perfect. So basically, the first things we're going to talk about today is the type of coronavirus emails or alerts that you've been seeing. So, and Predrag, feel free to jump in at any time if you had anything additional to talk about as well and what you've seen on your guys' end. But some of the, I think the highest level emails that we've been seeing is CDC alerts. So basically what you're seeing is cyber criminals are sending emails out that are talking about the safety hazards in your areas, and they're trying to get you to click on those links in order to go to a fake CDC site, and then from those links they're trying to install some kind of malware or ransomware on those devices. So there's with the panic around the world, you're seeing more and more of those coming across. I think the first one I saw was probably about a month ago. It was the first batch I've seen for the CDC. But that's kind of what you see in the email side. And on top of those, the piggyback that I just saw recently as of last day or two is they're actually kind of merging these into an SMS text. As each country and nation is doing the payments. So I know the U.S. is passing bills to do a payment. Europe, some of the countries are doing, payments out to the population, and they're basically SMS text is saying, hey, click on this link to get your payment. And then you're going to go to the website, and they're asking you to put a code in, and then basically put your information into the website. So it's kind of the CDC alert type thing is piggybacking with that to try to get people to, hey, now that it's going on, I know payments are due to me because of my nation state, then they're going to try to play in that hands for the individuals. Anything you've seen on that side, Predrag, on CDC alerts or anything around the world?
Particularly in our organization, there were not that many activities, but I'm also aware of these alerts on CDC sites as well as Norton. Norton was a very useful source for us. And as far as I can see from your slide, it basically is completely aligned to what Norton is recommending here.
Okay, perfect. The next one you can see is a lot of health advice emails, and these are not really from the CDC. It's typically from organizations or people claiming to have some kind of home remedies or some other way of fighting, what safety measures, what you should do, what supplies you should buy. So these emails are basically saying, I'm a medical expert in this field. Here's what you need to do. Click on this to see maybe my list of items that you need to partake of, what vitamin or supplement to use, things like that. So whether it's oregano oil, vitamins, some over-the-counter medication, they're going to try to use their name or their title, and most of it is fictitious, to get someone to click on a link. And once again, that link or attachment is going to be some kind of ransomware or other malware that they're trying to get users' information into to infiltrate the systems. So definitely, I think I've seen more of the health advice emails than I have seen CDC, to be honest. It's everywhere. Yeah, you can see it social media, right? You can see a lot of on social media of here's something that would help. You see that probably more in social media than you do in email, but that's one of those types of the cyber attack that's running around in rampant.
That's right, David. That's exactly what the feedback from several peers that I've contacted during the week was. So social media was more aggressive than email during this week, at least.
Perfect. And then one
John,
other
we lost
one.
the image. If you don't mind keeping that up there, that would be great.
The next thing is it's not as rampant, but it's basically your workplace policy email. So they're basically you're trying to play on internal email. So if they're able to circumvent security measures and maybe either take over an employee's email account or just spoof an email, they're going to send out emails with hey, this is the HR department. Due to the coronavirus, COVID-19, here's our new updated policy, whether regarding pandemics or incident response or business continuity. And they're trying to get you to click on that policy link or download the policy. So that's another one that it's not as rampant, but it's really effective because it looks like it's coming from someone from the inside. Have you heard anything on that, Predrag? Have seen anyone getting those types of emails?
Yes, few examples again on that Norton that I've seen, but basically that nothing aggressive, nothing through email coming to us in our organizations.
Okay, perfect. So basically going to jump on the number 2, which is actually spotting those emails. So there's a couple, I think we've got about 6 different points that we're talking about here. And it's, if you're familiar with any phishing security awareness training, it's pretty much the same aspects that they're looking for, except for the last one. It's a little more urgency that they're doing, but they're going to be asking you for your personal information. So whether it's your social security number, this is where the payment one comes in, that payment alert. Hey, you've got a payment available to you through the, maybe it's the latest in the U.S., a $2 trillion bill that was, going through Congress and everything right now. They're going to use that as soon as that gets approved and pushed and passed and signed by the president, right? You're going to start seeing these emails a lot more, or those SMS texts saying, hey, now that it's approved, here's how to get your payment. They're going to ask you for your social security number, and that's, false. So we got to basically start training our staff. Any SMS text, anything social media, anything email that's asking you for personal information to get a payment, don't use it. All right. Sender email address, number 1, just like in phishing, they need to right mouse click or press and hold on the mobile device to see that back end sender's email, because it may say something if it's internal. If it looks like it's from CDC and it's not from a .gov email, they really need to focus on those email addresses. Same thing with the links that are in those emails or SMS. With a lot of these cyber attackers are actually using some kind of shortened URL, like a bit.ly link. There are tools out there on that you can look for that will actually look inside those bit.ly links to let you know what's behind the scenes. So if you get employees with a short URL and they come to you and ask about it, do a Google search for a short URL decipher basically tool. It'll let you know what's behind the scenes, and then you can evaluate it because they're getting a little smarter with just putting the full link in. They're using the shortened URLs. And of course, the spelling, grammatical errors. A lot of these cyber attackers are going to be, overseas, around the world. Sometimes if it's in English, that may be their second language. You may be getting emails in other languages. Same thing, that language may be their second. So just anything that's really grammatically wrong and a lot of errors, definitely that's something that should cue your employees on. That's a phishing email or text. And generic greetings, usually especially if they know it's payment that you're supposed to be getting from the government, they should know your first and last name, of course. But a lot of times these hackers, it's a mass email, mass script that they run, and they're just going to be a very generic Mr. or Mrs. versus your full last name, whatever, first name. So it's those generic greetings usually kind of point towards a hacking attack. And then of course your urgency and act now. So those emails going to say, hey, get your payment now before it's too late, or you need to take the security measure before it's too late. So those little urgencies are acting now, trying to get people to panic and not really following through and looking through the links and looking through the sender and everything else is going to try to circumvent the panic and pandemic mode to fall for these traps. Anything you want to add, Predrag or Daniel?
Nothing from my end. That's
Okay.
really great. Yeah, well, great tips.
Yeah, and I want to just point out to everybody, every one of these items that are listed on this one pager. Sean, we lost the image of the one pager again. But every one of those items we have available as handouts that can be snatched from this meeting. So you can see specifics on what David is giving, kind of a high-end explanation. But we've got a handout specifically on spotting phishing emails.
Okay.
Added. Good. You want to go on to number 3, David?
Yeah, number 3. I'm still not seeing the shared image. If it's not, Sean, if you share that again. Number 3 is really the actual real websites in the U.S. at least. So if you're getting an email from someone stating something, go to one of the websites that are out there, the CDC website, the World Health Organization, which is WHO, and the National Institute of Health. Go to their websites, read their information on COVID-19, and take verbatim what they have versus what is in an email. So if in doubt, always go to one of those 3 websites to validate the information. Very good.
Also, those sites are available in the handouts that are provided.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And so, as you wrap up your 5 minutes of fame here, the remote worker security.
Yeah, I'm still not seeing the screen share. Are you sharing it, Sean? Just want to make sure everyone's seeing and following through with this.
I am seeing it on my end. So
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Predrag, I'm actually going to let you, if you want to run with some of these and talk to some of the points and add anything else you want to add, maybe the first 3. Phishing we just covered, so if you want to cover 2 and 3 for me.
Sorry, once again, David.
If you would like to, kind of talk on points 2 and 3, and if there's anything else you want to add on those.
No. I think that they're pretty well covered. That's pretty much all we need to know for the beginning.
And Mark is here too.
And
Mark's here too. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Good.
I wouldn't add anything to that. That's pretty well covered.
So those 5 bullet points about remote worker security. A lot of organizations have their teams working remote. Phishing, with regards to home networks, make sure that if possible, using a wired connection, segmentation of networks at home,
Mm-hmm.
your Wi-Fi password. So the network security can be a whole lot more lax at home, and so making sure that your teams are aware of that aspect. Passwords, certainly, if you've got work computers, you're accessing things, and then you've got all sorts of people from members of your family, etc. That kind of goes back to that final point, making sure that your work equipment is off limits. But keeping all, if you're having to utilize home machines and other IT equipment, making sure that they are up to speed with updates, and there aren't any system vulnerabilities. Are you able to see that now, David? It's back on.
Well, I've got my own, but so the one I'd like to add on these is especially in the PCI space, when you start working PCI, PII data, sensitive data, especially, and a lot of these help protect against that. That's why we've kind of offered some of these bullets. But when you start working at a home environment, and let's just say there's roommates involved, so if there's people that may be roommates or someone that doesn't need to hear the information, with the PCI Council does have a document about telephone, how to act and how to secure that telephone information and that PCI data, of course. So it's really, if you have to have a separate workspace, whether it's an office, make sure that you have that, shut the door so that they're not hearing information, because that's one of those bullets that people don't really think about, is people overhearing information, but it's very critical, especially if it's someone that really, it's a roommate. Even if they're family, there's nefarious family members at times if you have a roommate like that. So just be very careful when you're discussing anything that's private or sensitive on the phones.
Yeah, especially guest data. Yeah.
Guest data, exactly. I would say when it comes to home networks, most people these days with all the ISP services, they give you the free wireless router. If at all possible, go wired, because it's going to give you more secure and stable connection, and then it's typically a lot more less risky, because all of the Wi-Fi protocols right now have been known to be hacked. WPA2 has been hacked, so it can be stolen. That information can be taken from the air just because of the tools. Once no new WPA comes out, it's only a matter of time before it gets hacked, right? So landline is the most secure. So try to use your Cat5, Cat6 if possible in that.
Okay.
And then, right, so that's your home network stuff. So there's bullets, passwords. Definitely use 2FA for everything. So, and use a unique password for your own stuff versus work, because all the there's so many data breaches going on with all these different accounts and services. They're putting it on the dark web. So if you have one password that's linked to your email address, people are going to start trying to use that password with all of your accounts and try different systems. So make sure that you're separating your personal emails and passwords. Use different one with your professional services. And then if at all possible, use a unique one for each one. And that's where that password manager comes into play, because if you're using unique ones, then you're going to need a way to remember those. So password manager is recommended when it comes to trying to maintain security. And then the updates, right? Okay. And updates, just update everything. If it can be updated, update it. If you notice your machine, it needs updated and you don't have administrative rights, go to your IT staff and have them. They may be updating and patching things on a schedule, but they may not be. So it's everyone's responsibility to be secure. So if you notice your machine is not updating, let someone know. So it's not just, it's everybody's responsibility, not just IT, not the security team. It's everyone that's managing those devices.
Fantastic. I guess the takeaway here, David, is that the situation is really the perfect storm for data protection, because we've got an incredibly distracted populace and operating frequently in environments that are not necessarily built out with the security, the data protection infrastructure. So you've got lots of distracted people in insecure areas. So it is a perfect storm for a data protection vulnerabilities, right?
That is correct. I mean, with the panic going on, everyone's not really, and everyone's been, forced to work from home, stay at home, lockdown. And if there's been so many known vulnerable routers, ISP. So if you're sitting on a ISP router from Comcast that's 3 years old, probably never been updated. So it's your time now to try to make sure that equipment is updated. So people aren't really thinking about that because, it's just my Netflix, it's just this. But now it is your your enterprise environment now, and you brought that into play and scope. So get your employees to make sure, hey, when's the last time you updated your router? It's 2 years ago. I don't want to undo it because it's too much work for them. But they're implementing a lot of risk, especially if they've shared that same passcode to neighbors and friends and family members that anyone can get on now.
Yeah. Great. I feel for Mark. He's been struggling to hear us. He's been sharing on the chat. He's here again, and I think network systems have been very, very taxed because of this crisis. But I appreciate you giving it the college try to be here, Mark, and we would so love to hear your insights on this. But alas, it may not be possible. Predrag, you're still on. Anything to add about this kind of perfect storm, and any suggestions from the hotelier standpoint?
I wouldn't have to add anything here. I mean, I think this slide covers perfectly what to pay attention at first sight. And this is exactly what every one of us needed for quick checklist. Hey. If we forgot some of these topics, I think this slide is perfect, just to go through it quickly and run down, see, okay. And should we alert all of our users on spotting phishing emails, and should we then organize this internally in our organizations? That's the question. Probably we should share something like this with probably some examples of these emails to our users and teach them. That's the only thing comes up in my mind.
Yeah, well, we've got in one of those handouts available is phishing emails, a phishing email with regards to the coronavirus. So that's an example of the type of email and the ways to spot that it is. It's a bad actor.
That's a great example. That's right. That's right. It's a great example.
Yeah.
And just like you brought up
here.
The Norton, like you said, the Norton website. Someone posted a link here in the chat. It's a perfect one. It covers a lot of this too. Stay Safe Online. So if you go to Stay Safe Online website, there's a lot of great information on that. And there's actually a remote worker toolkit for the coronavirus stuff. So they've actually launched two different PDFs, one that you can give to your employees or small businesses, and you have a whole deployment toolkit too that just to kind of help out organizations. So Stay Safe Online is a great resource.
Gentlemen, are we ready for questions?
Yeah, I think we've got a chat question here. I see. Are you seeing the same one? Will this pandemic change the way organizations set up employees and their IT networks?
David, Michael Escobar, McCall.
So, any thoughts on will this change the way setting up IT networks?
I think it may. It's one thing. It's either proving or disproving the capabilities of your business to run remote. So some companies that are thought about running remote for some in jobs or positions, this is either going to prove or disprove that it works. I think you may have a lot of companies going to that route now for certain employees. So I think if they do, then it's going to definitely play a role in how do we secure our systems at home, especially if, let's just say, I have call center employees at home that are dealing with credit card information over the phone. Now there's going to be a different play on how that's set up and what systems, because a system that you use in a call center locally may not work at home. So you've got to definitely, I think there's a big play in not only really specific on what roles it is, and then what applications that you're going to allow the individual to run while they're at the home office.
Do you think it doubles the complexity of a network system if you have to build in the flexibility of people working remote, or is it or is it not mutually exclusive? Where is it a new strategy? Is it just taking a different strategy but not necessarily doubling the work, David? Do you get my meaning? My question?
Yeah. So let's just say if I have 50 employees in a building versus 2 in a building, my infrastructure resources would be less in one instance, because I don't have to have as big a bandwidth coming in as much. I could go with smaller firewalls, smaller, different things, and I'm relying on the internet to be my bandwidth. So there are some aspects that would increase and some aspects that would decrease. Now the security risk is a lot more, and I've got to do something different for at-home employees versus if I'm able to monitor it in-house. So some aspects of the infrastructure is going to double or increase. Some may actually decrease. So I think it depends on what that technology is.
What about the on-premise versus the off-premise, cloud argument? Does this there are many out there that see on-premise as preferred for security reasons, and there's an argument that can be made. I mean, does this by having to think in terms of having the flexibility where having people can work in the office and people work from home depending on the situation? Does the on-prem, off-prem, cloud argument, does that complicate things? Do you have any thoughts on that, David?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, the day of having a boundary is gone. You used to have a boundary. My office, my walls were my boundary. Now there's no boundary.
Yeah.
The world's a boundary. So there's some thoughts on, if I keep it on premise, I have to have the experts. Maybe I'm a small company, have a small organization. You can't expect one person to be an expert at every technology. So there's some benefits of having cloud, because let's just say you write everything on AWS. You're not responsible for the infrastructure, the platform. So you're just responsible for securing just your software or your small application firewall on AWS. And you let the experts who's AWS to manage and secure the technology, the hardware. So there's some pros and cons for both sides. So, and you're giving up, control of the hardware, but they are experts at what they do. So there's, some give and take. And for me, it's the cloud. It can be just as secure, but you are relying, like you said, on the other third party, and you got to make sure if you're using the cloud that third party is certified in something. They're SOC and they're ISO. They have all these certifications and proof that they're securing it, because you're basically putting the faith in their people, their expertise to manage that data. So yeah, I think there's pros and cons of both. I can see it both ways, especially now if you're a huge organization and can have specialists, experts in every given area, then on-prem makes a lot of sense. If you're a smaller organization, you only have one IT person, then it makes a lot of sense to go to cloud, because let them manage what they're good at, and you manage what you're good at.
Yeah. Very great. Before we're over the 30-minute mark. We've had some technical challenges. Before we wrap up, Predrag, I hope we finished answering the other half of that question, perhaps so they can be better prepared to work from home. Or I guess you were discussing that, David. Predrag, anything else to add on this subject? If we still have you, I hope.
Yeah, I'm still here. No, nothing else to add. I think it was a great 30 minutes opportunity for all of us to reflect this topic.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not add more injury to injury with the crisis that we're in by having a data breach, right? David, anything to say in passing? Appreciate you jumping in to present on this. Anything else to share before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. I mean it's our responsibility to educate our employees. So just every tool at your disposal, use it, because we are the Army. Every employee is the Army to battle this, and the more we raise awareness, the stronger we are. So definitely, anything you've got, shoot out emails, facilitate, give guides, do whatever you can to kind of arm your employees to recognize what we're presenting.
Yeah. And take full advantage of those handouts that are in here, but they will also be available on our website. Sean, is that correct?
We'll email them out to participants. They're currently available as downloadables to everybody here. This slide has been broken into 5 posters.
Fantastic. Good stuff. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being on and being flexible. Flexibility is being demanded of all of us these days, right? And patience. So I appreciate your patience and your attendance. And we will see you at the next